This video series is about the demonic power behind Christian nations, and some people will say, why you gotta be so dramatic? If you're not into Christian nations, just say that you think it's misguided, that it's not biblical, but why do you have to be so dramatic and say the demonic power behind Christian nations? Well, the short answer to that is because I think the Bible itself does, but we have to wait to get to Revelation's apocalyptic vision to really unpack where I think that comes through in Scripture, where it's prophesied that because there weren't Christian nations at the time that all the rest of the Bible was written until Revelation is the prophetic vision looking forward to what's going to come. So that's the place where it's most clearly addressed. Although the nature of the genre of the book is symbolic, and so it takes some exegetical work to unpack that. But even without getting there, still the essence of the question: are Christian nations all that bad? I mean, even if it is misguided, even if that wasn't what the intended mission of the church was, I mean, haven't Christian nations brought some good things? Can't you just rejoice in the positive rather than being down on the negative? There's several answers that I would say to that. One is that I am thankful for the positive, and there are things that I can thank God for about Christian nations. But two, there's some pretty serious negatives. The most important one in the spiritual dimension is that look, I love Jesus. The church is the bride of Jesus, and if God's people or God's professing people are going after paths and following spiritual forces that aren't, it's like when Solomon followed worshipped false gods and goddesses. That's just not a oops mistake. I mean, that's offensive to anyone who loves the true God, the true creator of the universe and the God of Israel. And so scriptural language, especially the language of Revelation, is that the worldliness in the church is prostitution. If my Jesus called John the Baptist and his followers friends of the bridegroom. If my best friend's wife is spreading her legs beneath every green tree and inviting paying passersby money to come and enter into her, using language from Ezekiel chapter 16 especially, that's not just a ho-hum, oops, too bad, not ideal. That's gravely offensive, and I think that Revelation describes the effort of pursuing Christian nations and in particular the spiritual powers behind them as spiritual prostitution and adultery. But just even if we didn't have all that background, just is it problematic? And I think practically it's problematic, and again could point to several problems and some of the gross, disgusting things in history that Christians have done when they take up the sword to defend their turf or expand the territories of the turf. A lot of immorality. That could be one practical historical argument. But one that bothers me most, I think should bother us most, is just I think that Christian nationizing, the effort of Christian nation building, is a great distraction. In fact, I call it the great distraction from the Great Commission. Is that Jesus had a task for the church to do, and that Christian nationizing presents a massively distracting side quest. It's not just something that you do in your spare time, or as you go. Sure, I mean, Jesus told his disciples, "You'll be brought before governors and kings for my sake." Paul was brought before Caesar. Sure, I affirm there's going to be opportunities, and take them to speak into the public sphere, to speak to governors and magistrates and kings and emperors and presidents. Preach to them. Don't be cowardly. Preach the truth, engage with culture. There's a place for that. But as far as making that your task, that is a huge investment of time, effort, money, energy to develop Christianity, to transform society as a whole. And I think it's a massive side quest. It's the great distraction from the Great Commission. It's a big problem. But interestingly, some people, different view, will say, Zach, you're wrong, and not only are you wrong, but you're wrong in the very passage that you are emphasizing is that the Great Commission itself, Matthew's version in particular, is the very thing that tells us to make Christian nations. And so not only have you misinterpreted, but you're attacking Christian nationizing based on the very passage that tells us to make Christian nations. So we're going to have to explore that question for the next few videos.